Hi everybody, my name is Rhiannon. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interview for this position. I wanted to share with you my art sample that I'm going to be doing. This is just, I thought it would be easier to do in a video that I'll speed up kind of through so you can see the process and see what's going on, but I wanted to talk about why I chose this one. This activity is going to be in connection with a book I really love for social emotional development called I Like Myself. It's by Karen Beaumont. And it's a beautiful story about a little girl who's kind of just discovering things about her body that she really likes, things about her personality, her spunky hair, and it just helps her have an appreciation of herself and just being, different and kind of unique. And I think that's very important for kindergartners. They kind of come into the year a little bit scared. Maybe it's their first time at school, period, or a new school, and it can be kind of hard to find yourself in the sea of other kids around. And so this activity was kind of created to celebrate differences, to celebrate maybe similarities, to realize that it's okay to be different. And also I think it celebrates individuality, which we, as a society but I think how I would do it is I would have everybody make their own, and then we would hang them around the classroom to celebrate what they've done. And then it can also kind of show a sense of belonging, like you belong here, like this is your classroom and you're a big part of together as a community. And so it's kind of supporting individuality, that everybody's different, but it's also showing that there's value in being a unit, that kindergarten wouldn't be the same without you. And I think it's a beautiful thing to have. So the activity that we would be doing, this would span over probably not in one day, but I think it could definitely be done over a course of maybe 2 to 3 days, where they can do chunks of it at a time, just depending on the schedule and the energy of the kids and what's going on and kind of what level they're at. So this activity is going to, I'm just going to move this down so you can see my materials, see how it will be working. But so I have a blank piece of watercolor paper here, and that has a kind of a word area for writing, or if which I'm going to do today, if the kids maybe are not prepared to write, if they haven't had experience enough with it, if this is the beginning of the year activity or something of that nature, we might use sentence structure. So we can use things like this where it says I am me. We'll put on I like myself, and then at the very last it will say I am, and then the child can practice writing their name, which in kindergarten most kids are learning how to write their name, or they come into kindergarten already knowing how to write. So if they do, then we can scratch this and they can just kind of write this as we go. But what we can also do if we wanted to make it a little bit different is we can cut the pieces up and we can work in sentence structure. This can also help with sight words, where it says, I, we can find we're focusing on those phonemes, am, and then me. Most of them will probably come in knowing a few of these. Maybe some of them have never seen them before, but this can just help them become more familiar. And then it's also fun because it's like puzzle work at the same time. Okay, and then the other materials that we'll have will be, I have a set of watercolor paints that we'll be using. I have the 3 primary colors and pastels, some chalky pastels that we can use. There's also the primary colors and colored pencils as well. I like the idea of using primary colors because some kids come in knowing all their colors already, but we want to figure out, well, where does orange come from? Where does green come from? Where does purple come from? How can we get those? What about brown? And I think it's fun to give them just these so they can experiment with them as well. And then I also have some natural materials. We have some flowers, we have some rocks and some seashells. And what I think this activity will also do is just give them an imagination. They can put in things that they like, things that they, if we need hair, pink hair might be fun, we'll see. And it can just help them just to kind of express themselves. It can be a kind of therapy for them if they need it, and it'll just be a lot of fun. And we can use this to look at ourselves. We can look at our face and say, what kinds of shapes do we have on there? How many eyes do we have? Look at your eyes very closely. Do you see any lines in there? Do you see any shapes? What do you see? What about your nose? Does that look like a shape to you? Your teeth? And that can just kind of bring in a lot of different things. We're talking about numbers, we're integrating math, we're integrating, anatomy, things like that, and science. Where did these come from? I wish I had more natural materials. I don't quite have them at home, but I would like to go on nature walks, and find these things, and what can we use with them? How can we maybe make a necklace out of this? Or what about eyes, or maybe some earrings, or a silly tie or something like that. So I'm just gonna kind of get started so you can see what it'll look like start to finish. And then from here on, it should be sped up for you. So I'm just gonna have some fun. So this is kind of, I mean, how I would do it myself. Obviously, this would look very, very different if it came from a kindergarten child. The eyes would probably be a lot larger. Maybe the body structure would be different. Maybe they would do a person standing versus an up close kind of picture like this. Maybe we would talk about where are you? You know, where do you like to be? Maybe they would do themselves at home. Maybe we would all be outside. We can talk about maybe what we were wearing, like I was wearing an orange shirt. Well, how do I get orange if I only have these 3 colors? Well, how do you think I can mix them to get orange? We can talk about that. We can talk about maybe what the weather's like. I really like the way that the yarn was sort of flowing, so I feel like maybe it's windy outside. We can maybe put a couple of these to show that there are leaves coming off of the tree for the wind. We can talk about maybe what parts of the tree we need. We can learn words like trunk and maybe what type of tree this is if I'm thinking about it as a pine tree. We can ask, there are so many things that we can do with this. We can talk about trees that we've seen outside. This can relate to a lot of different units that we might go through. It talks about sentence structure and punctuation, which are things that we'll get into at the very end of kindergarten. There are sight words involved, writing our name. If you have children that are maybe more capable, I don't really like using that term, but you can have them write these things out on their own perhaps. You can, maybe it won't be as detailed as this for some children, maybe for others it will be. I don't think that this is above a kindergarten level. I did a couple of Frida Kahlo art impersonations in kindergarten, and Van Gogh and Picasso, and they really dug into things like this, and some of them they really focus on the details, and you can really see their personality coming out in each different piece, even though they're all the same. And I just think that this is just one example of an activity that you can use at any time. It's very versatile. Yeah, so oops. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this, and I hope to hear from you soon, and I look forward to talking to you on Friday. Thank you so much. Bye.